Before you get into the real estate market, get clarity, perspective, and the information you need.
I've been listening to you, and I love your show.
Right here with broker owner Dan Gemis, host of the Dan Gemis Real Estate Show.
12:35 here on AM 800. I am Dan Gemis. Aaron Blackmere in studio with me today. And a reminder, if you're looking to make a move, the Dan Gemis team is always there to help. You can reach out to us 7 days a week at 519-566-5565 or on our website at dangemis.com, DANGEMUS.com. Now, we are going to go over to our good friend Chris Gibb from Gibb Insurance Brokers. We have our tip of the bye week, because we have Chris on every 2 weeks.
Oh,
Chris. How are you?
Hello there, Dan and Aaron. How is the boys' weekend going?
It's going
two boys
awesome.
there today.
Oh, it's awesome. I'm going to be careful what I say, because I'm sure all the females on the team are listening to the show, and I will pay for it dearly. And Aaron and I will pay for it dearly.
We're just over here breaking stuff and eating stuff,
right.
Just guy stuff.
There you go. Very good.
So what's happening in the wonderful world of insurance?
Well, it's I've talked about this too much, so I don't even want to bring it up this time. But disasters everywhere. I just read a report on the one of our insurance industry magazines saying that this 2023 has been the worst year for insured natural disasters in Canadian history. And then on the bright side, they said we're only 3/4 of the way through the year, and it's already
has so much more time to get so much worse, right, Chris?
Exactly. So, but we're not going to talk about that today.
No.
Good. Let's just forget that even happened.
Yep.
Keep going.
That's right. We'll worry about that next year. Well, what I thought I would talk about today is something we see quite often when people call the office for a quote. There's 5 questions your insurance company or your insurance broker is going to ask you to quote your home insurance, and many, many times people don't have the answers to these 5 questions.
All right, 5 questions that you need to be able to answer before calling in to get a quote from your insurance person.
Great
and topic.
The older your home is, the more important these answers become. So I don't know if you have a drum roll sound effect there, but I will...
Best I can do that.
So we'll start with, how old is your roof? That's going to be the first question that your insurance company is going to ask you when you call for a quote. How old is the roof?
How old is your roof?
And I'm not sure is usually the top answer. So
don't know.
If people could, you know what? It's realtors and purchasers.
Yeah,
that's a
home.
good question to know. How old is the roof? That's number one.
And usually a homeowner will know how old the roof is, or approximately at least.
Yeah, usually you can. We don't need to know the day, month, and year, but we just have to have an idea of approximately how old is the roof.
Sure.
Number 2.
Now, wait. So a question before you go further, Chris, on that topic. At what point is the insurance company not happy with the age of the roof?
Usually it's a hard 20 years. If your roof is 20 years or approaching 20 years of age,
okay.
They may not insure you, or they may put a what we call a roof restriction on your policy, that any damage to the roof or damage from the roof inside the home may not be covered if your roof is 20 years or older.
I think we'd be pressed to find a roof that's 20 years these days.
Yeah.
You know what? It's they don't, with the UV rays and the weather, they don't usually last that long, but we see it every once in a while. But that's if it's 20 years old, you
for sure.
definitely need to replace it.
For sure. Number 2,
how old is the furnace?
How old are you?
There you go. How old is that furnace? Is it? Again, that's another one. Once we get to about 25, 30 years, the insurance companies are going to start asking for inspections. They're going to want to know what's the condition of this furnace, because not only are we worried about the furnace catching fire, more importantly, you're worried about the furnace failing during the heating season.
Sure.
And your pipe freezing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So
sense.
That's your second one.
Okay.
Third one is, how old is your hot water tank?
Okay. I would think how old and what type of hot water tank. Is it a on demand or is it a tank? I guess it's a tank, yeah.
Usually they're tanks in older homes. Newer homes
Sure.
have the on demand. I mean, if when you call and you say your house is built in 2022,
No, for sure.
Yeah.
we're not going to ask you all these questions, but how old is that hot water tank? Their lifespan is usually 15 years. You're starting to get to the end of the lifespan of a hot water tank, and if it bursts, it can cause a lot of water damage in your basement.
Mm-hmm.
Sure can. Hopefully you have coverage.
Yes.
Well, generally for that, you're going to have coverage. Number 4, and this is always a big one.
So wait, Chris, wait before you give that one. So on that topic, on the hot water tank bursting or leaking, would that fall under what part of the coverage does that fall under?
Generally, and I'm speaking very generally, that falls under your main part of your policy. That's not something you generally have to buy extra coverage for.
So that wouldn't be the basement flooding coverage or anything?
No. That's for water that comes up through the sewers, sump pump, or septic system. So a burst water pump or burst hot water tank would be like a burst pipe.
Just kind of like a one and done type thing.
Exactly. That's generally written into the main language of the policy. So it's not. But that's a good question. It's not something that has to do with sewer backup.
Got it. Number 4.
Number 4 is what type of electrical system you have and how long has it been since it was updated.
Sure.
So what we're looking for, insurance companies are looking for, all copper wiring. Do you have breakers? It's all 100 or 200 amp service.
Yeah.
Your older homes can have, some homes can have aluminum wiring that can be an
Knob and
issue.
tube, yeah.
Older homes can have knob and tube wiring that can be an issue. So that's, if you're buying a home that's built in the 70s or before that, that's a question you definitely want to ask your realtor.
And how are you finding with aluminum, Chris? Is it not getting covered as much?
Aluminum wiring is generally not a problem, but there's always a but in the insurance world.
Yes.
But most insurance companies are going to ask you to have it inspected by a licensed electrician.
Right.
And for that electrician to provide you with an ESA or an Electrical Safety Authority, an ESA certificate.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not the end of the world, but you're going to go through a few extra steps, and it'd be important for a buyer to know that if they are buying a home that has aluminum wiring.
For sure.
And the issue, as I understand it, isn't just aluminum wiring. It's you can't put aluminum wiring and copper wire together.
That's right.
Right.
Or it'll oxidize, or it'll do something where it can cause sparks in a fire.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I've understood as well.
Yeah. All right. Are we ready for number 5?
We are ready for number 5.
All right. Number 5 is another one for those people who are purchasing an older home. Is what type of plumbing system do you have, and when was it last updated?
Yes.
An outhouse with a bucket.
Yes.
All good.
There you go. Do you have all copper? Do you have plastic plumbing? If it's plastic plumbing, do you have the dreaded Kitech plumbing?
Ooh, bad word.
Yes. Or, if it's an older home, a much older home, do you still have some of that old galvanized plumbing in there?
Yeah.
Even worse.
Yeah. All things that your insurance company is going to look at. They'll probably give you some time to replace it, but you could be in a situation where it's very, very expensive to replace. So if you're buying an older home, that's something you definitely want to ask your realtor and look very carefully at, is those electrical and plumbing systems to make sure you're not going to have problems when it comes to getting insurance.
Jeez. I feel like over the last few weeks there have been so many house fires. I feel like maybe it's just in the news or it's all over social media that I feel like it's just there in the forefront, you know what I mean? But a couple more houses burnt down in Amherstburg and Kingsbridge area over the last couple days.
Had one in Windsor as well somewhere.
I don't know what's happening.
It's one of those things. It almost feels like they come in bunches, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just true. It's true. Well, listen. Go
you
ahead.
know what,
sorry.
Dan? I'll drop some history on you if I can fill up some more time.
Go for it. Yes.
last night, my lovely wife and I went and visited Fort Malden. talking
Yes.
about fires, and it was the 210th anniversary of the burning of Fort Amherstburg, as it was called at that time.
So that would have been 1813, 12, 1813 it burnt down?
1813, 1814, something like that. It was when General Proctor and his First Nation allies abandoned the area and went up to the Thames River and fought the Americans. So that was last night was the 210th anniversary of the burning of Fort Amherstburg.
And so who burnt the fort? Like
the British burnt the fort rather than have it go into the hands of the Americans.
Got it. Okay. Wow, so
there you go.
fascinating.
There's another fire that happened in Amherstburg.
Look at you, Chris, the insurance pro, deputy mayor of Amherstburg, historian. But you got everything going for you.
Complete package.
All the nerdy aspects of my life come out on your radio show.
Not nerdy, interesting.
Interesting. Thank you, Aaron. Thank
There
you.
you go.
Hey, listen, while I have you, you had a tour. Have we talked about this on the air yet? You toured Jack's Organics in Amherstburg,
Yes,
the greenhouse.
Yes, the greenhouse in Amherstburg, yes.
Tell us about it.
Dan, you as a tech guy, you would definitely. I think you would have applied for a job if you had. We had. It's the largest organic greenhouse in North America, located right in Amherstburg. They grow cherry tomatoes or plum tomatoes. You know, the little tomatoes.
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating. Fascinating. Entirely organic. They grow the tomatoes, pick them. It's all automated. All their, the fellows who pick the tomatoes, they put them in bins. The bins are on carts that are automatically go to where they get washed and weighed and packaged. They bring in their own bees. They bring in their own bugs. They bring in their own worms to help the plant. It was absolutely a fascinating experience. It was, you can truly see the future of agriculture because they can just grow these perfect little tomatoes. It's just
it's all organic, which is fantastic.
All organic, which makes it much more difficult because then you have to, when we went in, we had to step in a machine that scrubbed our shoes, and we had to put our hands in another machine that sprayed them with alcohol. Because they're very, very careful with introducing any kind of germs or anything, because again, it's an organic farm, and if something gets in there, they lose everything. So it was a fascinating tour, really cutting edge. When you bring technology to an ancient trade like growing food, it was just a fascinating place to see.
Well, I loved seeing the pictures and hearing all about the tour. So I'm happy you enjoyed that, and kudos to Jack's Organic for for helping you guys out with that tour and teaching you all about it. So lots of cool stuff up ahead for them.
Excellent. Yes, they've lots of cool stuff that I can't talk about, but they definitely an interesting tour.
Fantastic, Chris Gibb. If anyone has questions for you, what's the best way to reach out?
The best way to reach out is give the office a call, 519-736-8228. You'll talk to Danielle or Emily. They are fantastic. They will gather your information. We can work you out a quote and get back to you. Or you can email me, chris@gibbinsurance, all one word, .ca. Or you can go to our website, gibbinsurance.ca, get a quote online. Don't even have to talk to me.
Oh my God, awesome, Chris! Thank you as always. We'll chat soon.
All right, you guys enjoy the men's club today.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks. That's Chris Gibb, owner of Gibb Insurance Brokers, and again, they service all of Windsor and Essex counties. We'll take a break. We're going to come back, give away the gift card for the Richmond Popcorn Company. If you haven't already entered, you still have time. Text the keyword FRESH. FRESH with your first and last name to 10800. Then we'll come back and talk about some common rental upgrades that are not necessarily worth the money. Lots more to come right here on the Dan Gemus Real Estate Show.